Hello, I'm Brenda, and this is Write Your Story. The main focus of this video is to talk about sketch stories, to use a sketch story as part of your memoir writing. Sketch story does not have a plot, and a plot, remember, is a sequence of events that happen that have an impact one on the other. So I think the king of sketch story is Ernest Hemingway. I looked for a lot of other options to try see can I find other people who write using sketch story. And really, when it comes to memoir, Ernest Hemingway in his memoir, A Moveable Feast, makes use of sketch story. Each chapter is an independent little story. So let's talk about the opening chapter or the opening sketch story in A Moveable Feast. In this story, Ernest Hemingway writes about a morning routine he always has. And this morning routine is to walk from his apartment in Paris in the 1920s through this particular suburb, and he writes about the weather of this particular day, goes to his regular cafe, has his regular routine of how he hangs his hat up on the wall, finds his table, orders his coffee, his Smit-James, and he sits down to write. And in this particular story, a young woman walks into the cafe as he's getting ready to start his writing for the day, and he describes her. He describes her reaction to her, his feelings about her, and then he starts to describe and write and talk about his writing and the story, and he's struggling with his writing, and then the writing starts to write itself, and then it finds its groove and he gets caught up in his writing. He looks up, this young woman who he found attractive has left, and he shares his thoughts about her, and that's the end of the story. There's no plot. It's like a slice of life, but it's more than that. There's more to it. There's this whole scene that he's created for us that doesn't have a plot, that has a few characters, and it's really descriptive. There's a lot about it that's descriptive, and when you use sketch story and memoir as he has, each chapter is independent, each chapter is different, each chapter says something without a plot, and when you see them all together as a whole, it tells a whole story. They can stand alone, but they really are very rich when they're all put together. So that's something you could consider when you're writing your memoir, is to take one memory, one scene, something really pertinent to you that can also express your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings about that particular situation, and describe it, put it together, create a sketch story, and then your next chapter is a different sketch story and another sketch story. And you can do what Ernest Hemingway has done and take one area of your life. So in his memoir, A Moveable Feast, he writes about a 5-year time frame that he had as a young writer in Paris. And it has a particular focus with regard to the literary circle in Paris at the time. So that's something you could consider. With sketch story, you need to be a lot more focused. You need to be a lot more precise with your language. The thing to keep in mind is because it's shorter and simpler, just like short story, it doesn't necessarily make it easier to write. And it doesn't make it easier to write because every sentence, every word has to count. As with A Moveable Feast, if you've got a main theme, you've got a main way of what you're wanting to convey, each sketch story will still speak to that theme, will still speak to that whole, so that your memoir isn't too disjointed. I think there's a wide variety of ways we can write. And I think when we try different ways of writing, we explore different ways of writing, we practice different ways of writing, it actually enhances our writing style. Now we also have a slice of life and we have vignettes, and I'm going to deal with those two in a separate video, so do watch out for that video. To just give you a taste of it now, a slice of life would be even less of a story when it comes to what I've just described as sketch story. So a slice of life would be perhaps just that little incident of him walking down the street on his way to the coffee shop, or arriving at the coffee shop and his routine. And then a vignette is a richer, deeper, more sensual, as in engaging the senses, and a very imagery focused description of a piece of writing and how you can actually use it in your memoir. So I'm going to deal with that in a separate video. Watch out for that one if you're interested in finding different ways in which to practice writing and even to structure your memoir. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the notification bell, and I'm happy to have you along for the journey. I'll see you next time.